Hello, my dear viewers. Today we're going to talk about the Muslim-loving right-wing Prime Minister. That's right. Truly a Swedish creation, if any. After the past month's demonstrations of freedom of speech ending in violent and angry Muslim protests, Sweden has become a very dangerous country to live in. What else is new? Sweden's so-called right-wing prime minister has now come out and said that this is the most serious national security emergency since World War II. End of quote. And quite the, I've been called an alarmist over the years for saying the truth about Swedish migration policy, but this right here, now this is a really emotionally drastic and bold statement to make. World War II? The Holocaust? The Nazis? So what is he referring to here? Well, he's referring to how some people have been practicing freedom of speech in Sweden lately, and how it has caused uproar and angry riots in other countries way long way from Sweden. Quote, "We are in the most serious national security situation since World War II, and here in Sweden we know how both governments and individuals alike can exploit the situation. According to our National Security Agency, we have gone from being what is called a legitimate threat for terror attacks to becoming a prioritized target for Muslim terror attacks. As nearly everyone understands, this is very serious and needs to be taken highly seriously. Sweden risks being a pawn in the games of other forces. So I would like to encourage people both in Sweden and abroad to compose themselves. Yes." End of quote. So you are literally calling Muslims as dangerous as Nazis? Is that how we are supposed to interpret this? See, you have no problem spelling out what the consequences to criticizing Islam are. You have no problem making comparison between Islam and National Socialism in terms of happy invaders. But then what you choose to do is grovel to the Islamists and demand that your own people compose themselves, submit and calm themselves and be quiet before Islam. Just like your country did with the Nazis when you chose to cooperate with them and kiss their asses and invite them into your country through the migration board and sells them so many crucial resources that they could keep the World War II going for months longer than originally intended. Yeah, sounds like a Swedish tradition of neutrality, alright. And this is exactly why neutrality as an idea is disgusting and only something that cowards dabble in. Let's just say that again, just so the gravity of the situation here doesn't get lost on anyone. Sweden is now looking at banning Quran burnings, banning protests against the Quran, because of what it means to their national security. In other words, Islam is so violent, so dangerous, so unreformed and stuck in the Middle Ages, such a big threat against the Western values that Europeans are used to, that you cannot even object to this religion while a majority of the people in your country are non-believers, because even then you get made into a global terror target and a piñata for Muslim aggression. You don't get to tell us that this isn't about ideological dominance anymore. You don't get to tell us that this is about racism, since the only group being racist here are the Muslims absolutely refusing to respect the diversity and cultures of the nations they choose to immigrate to, where they take very much out of the welfare systems and depend on these to a disproportionately high degree without any gratitude or respect back to the country for the country that wishes to take care of them. Remember, they are Allah's resources, not the Swedish people's resources.
لحد آخر يوم بحياتنا وسنأخذ السويد ونأخذ أوروبا كلها أيضا.
وأنت الآن في السويد؟
أنا في السويد.
عند الكفار يعني؟
نعم.
تأكل من أموالهم وتشرب من...
نحن نأكل من أموال الله ليس من أموالهم.
يعني تأخذ من الحكومة أيضا، تستفيد منها وكل شيء.
أي نحن نأكل من أموال الله ليس أموالهم.
طيب لماذا لا تذهب إلى أرض الإسلام مثلا إلى مكة، إلى مسقط رأس النبي، إلى المدينة المنورة حتى تستمتع بقبر النبي وأرض الإسلام وتستمتع بالإسلام في أرضه؟ لماذا ذهبت عند الكفار؟
نحن هنا في مهمة دينية لننشر ديننا.
لكن أنت تعرف أنه حرام أنك تترك بلاد الإسلام وتعيش في بلاد الكفر دون اضطرار.
What this also means is that Swedish people are a direct warning to other countries of what not to do. Don't be so neutral you are willing to annihilate your own culture, your own separation of church and state, simply because you are looking to please angry people that hate your way of life anyway, no matter what you do. The fact that burning a book can end up with our National Security Agency having to warn the public of an increased terror threat, that only means that mass immigration from these countries was a mistake. A gesture of kindness that went unreciprocated, a mistake that other countries should not repeat, unless they too look forward to a future under Sharia, blasphemy laws, institutionalized homophobia, and persecution against non-believers and Jewish people especially. Muslim anger is not a reason to listen and respect Islam. It's proof that Islam is not compatible with the peaceful and civilized Western world whose resources they are jealous of. The Western world where disagreement and debate may spawn anger and frustration and discord, but never violence and terrorism as a given. This is further illustrated through this t-shirt that you will find on my official store, which reads, "Beer plus bacon equals civilization." Because you see, this is the mathematical formula for a civilized society where actual tolerance and individual prosperity may exist. I encourage people in the Middle East to take inspiration. Now here's another funny quote from our Prime Minister. Sweden and Denmark are two of the world's most well-functioning democracies. We stand up for freedom of speech and the right to demonstrate. We have a strong tradition out of respecting other people and different religions and beliefs. Freedom of religion is an obvious cornerstone in our societies. End of quote. This is such sanctimonious bullcrap, I don't even know where to start. How are you gonna call Sweden a well-functional democracy when you treat anyone who criticizes the establishment policies like a foreign spy? You people are known for creating and practicing cancel culture before it even became a word. And now you're trying to remake the legal definition of existing laws so that you can ban people from having Quran burnings like this in the future, with some weird reference to national security and national interests of joining NATO, that is. In other words, you want to restrict citizens' rights to public demonstration, and why oh why doesn't anyone address how disgustingly dishonest it is to brag about Swedish democracy 1 second, and then in the same paragraph, the next sentence, you want to ban it and restrict it? He then goes quite conspiracy Keanu and goes on to claim that the Quran is being burnt in this country in order to worsen Sweden's international position, saying anti-Quran actions are being carried out to divide us by Russia-friendly forces who are being paid to undermine and smear our country while we try to become members in NATO. End of quote. And yeah, obviously it's Russia's fault, right? We get to blame Russia for exactly everything. It's not like everything that Muslims have done to Swedish people since arriving here, all the mass rapes, all the targeted racist harassment, all the hate crimes that are being done against white Swedish people. It's not like any of that would make people start objecting Islam. No, of course not. So literally this numbnut goes on Instagram and claims that governments are paying to make Sweden look bad, as if anyone needs to pay someone to make that happen, and in the same breath he casts a Russian spy smearing on people who are critical of Islam. First of all, nobody has to try hard to make Sweden look stupid. You people have been experts at that for decades, enough to make me a freaking career just out of pointing out all your logical inconsistencies. Russia can't be held responsible for the way that you have ruined your country all on your own without Russia being present. And second of all, is there anything happening in Sweden that isn't Russia's fault? Whether it's the government-made electricity and gas pricing crisis, or whether it's the people who have legitimate reasons to object to Islam, you just have to make up some conspiracy for the sake of national marketing. So whether it's a right-wing Swedish prime minister or a left-wing Swedish prime minister, you can always count on them to make up any number of conspiracy theories when it comes to the topic of why is your country being tumultuous? When really, the bigger point in this entire mess, this entire Quran burning debate, should be this, quote, these Quran burnings, along with the coordinated disinformation campaigns aimed at Sweden, worsen the situation for Swedish citizens and companies abroad, and weaken the security domestically. It increases the risk of brutal terror attacks. So, in case you haven't heard about this, Swedish citizens have now been warned to look out when they are traveling abroad, outside of Sweden, because they might become the target of Islamist rage. We have also seen an increase in terror threat classification, meaning this country is now at a higher risk to have yet another terror attack take place. And of course, Swedish corporations are also under attack for all this. Basically, the Muslim world right now is going to war with Sweden, advocating boycott, hacker attacks, and harassment of all sorts. And that says everything we need to know about Islam, doesn't it? You burn a book, and all of a sudden a dozen different countries that will claim you cannot generalize against Muslims decide to all together generally collectively act the same in anger, tear buildings apart, and make your entire country unsafe, even towards Swedish people who aren't currently located in Sweden. Because of these completely rational objections toward Islam that have been taking place, with these demonstrations, Muslims have collectively, without talking to each other first, chosen to act in unison with aggression and danger uncomparable to any other religious group. Jewish people do not act this violent when you burn their Torah, Christians do not act this violent when you burn their Bible, and Buddhists do not act this violent when you burn their mandalas and their Buddha statues. This alone proves your rage and hatred towards the West is decentralized and a natural part of your religion. It existed there before these Quran burnings. You were screaming about why Sweden deserves to burn and have terror attacks before any of this took place. And that is why it's possible for riots to break out in several different countries simply as a natural reaction towards someone insulting your horrible holy book of shit. All of this illustrates that the religion of peace really is the religion of hatred, violence, and revolution. So no wonder why socialists and liberals love you guys. I guess Sweden is just another horrible example of the fact that liberalism and Islamism is the worst possible combination to ever exist. All it leads to is the tolerance of the intolerant leading to the intolerant winning. And this is a warning that America and other nations need to take seriously. You guys don't have to watch out for Muslims as much as you should be watching out for the lefties that are ready to make more excuses for them than they themselves personally ever would, and hide their true opinions and values more than they ever do. Islam does not like democracy, equality, and freedom of speech. It does not believe religions are equal. So what is it about Islam in the Swedish context, and especially the Western liberal context, that makes you people want to defend it? I'm just curious. Leave a comment. Please leave a comment. And if you personally can't answer that question, well, just show this video to a liberal who can, and spread this discussion somewhere else and see what those people have to say. I think we're all curious to find out. Thank you for watching this far, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then feel free to give something back if you have the possibility in your life and you want to help this channel thrive with more uploads. My donation info is linked in the video description as usual, and I will gladly accept both one-time donations as well as monthly donations. Both are appreciated and both give you full access to my Discord server where you can chat with other weirdos like yourself. This is your friendly neighborhood foreigner, and I will see you again soon.